This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, episode number 29, coming to you here from the North Park building at Academy Square in lovely downtown Seneca Falls. The snow is falling. The temperatures are right around 10 outside. Plenty of wind and drifting snow and everything to make this one of the better reasons to stay inside and hang out. Of course, everybody from this area knows that Seneca Falls is believed to be the basis for Bedford Falls. And all I could come up with was Miracle on 34th Street, and that's not the movie. Wow. Completely blew that. It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life,
was
yes.
What they believed that the town was based Bedford Falls was based on Seneca Falls, which is, you get a bunch of different cues and stuff in and through there. Very Merry Christmas to everybody, and make sure you enjoy a Happy New Year. We're going to be back again with another edition of the Final Round on the 11th of January. After that, we're going to be coming to you live from the annual banquet down in Mount Morris, celebrating the season with Empire Dragway. So, jumping into things, first and foremost, Jason, I hope everything went well with Christmas at home.
It did indeed. It's nice to be. It's nice to have a week off, I guess, of work and actually do the show when we have the week off. It makes it a little bit easier to kind of coordinate everything. So yeah, it's kind of nice.
It doesn't hurt to have a little bit of time off. Doesn't hurt.
No, it's a nice break. Of course, today I was taking my day off and working with it. So actually visiting customers and working. So much for a vacation. But. Right.
It'll work though. It's passable. Joining us on the show tonight is Rob Keister from the Mid-Atlantic .90 series, which we're going to be focusing a lot on that conversation through the course of our evening here. Also going to be talking a little bit about his show, Wheels Up Radio, which is going to be kind of a neat topic to talk to somebody else who's also into the drag racing podcast game, which is going to be kind of cool. Turning it over now, we've got Rob on the line. Make sure that we got him all tuned in. We should have you. Rob, man, how are you?
I'm great. How about you guys?
We're doing okay.
Everybody trying to stay warm?
We're doing the best we can with it in a giant old concrete schoolhouse, but yes, we're okay.
Yeah, it's same down here in New Jersey. We're at about 21 degrees. We don't have snow. We're getting snow possibly tomorrow night, but we're kind of right with you guys. We're with the coldness, so waiting for spring so we can go racing.
Yeah, now's a good time of the year to, like Chris mentioned, stay inside, stay warm, and hopefully, listen to Wheels Up and watch some Final Round podcasts, right?
Yep.
I would say, of course, you and I are both busy this time of year, too, trying to work on schedules for various racing series, and it's kind of interesting, actually. I didn't realize that you were involved with Wheels Up. I guess I'm kind of curious now what the... relationship is between being a racing promoter and doing a podcast. So they go hand in hand here. It's like if you're doing one, you have to do the other.
Really, I mean, I got introduced through Wheels Up Radio through a mutual friend, Kelly Barbado. Everybody may know her. She runs Super Street on the NHRA Division I tour, and she had kind of asked me to, hey, you should check out this Wheels Up Radio podcast. And I got in touch with the gentleman who runs it. His name's Chris Barnes. He's up in the New Hampshire area. And, kind of offered, hey, I would come on and just talk about the series. Well, we kind of got a good partnership together, and he offered, probably about 2 years ago for me to come on and help be a co-host with him. And it's him, myself. There's a couple super stock guys, Bob Bender, Mike Carr. Kelly has her own show on Monday nights, which is a results show, and then also Kelly Kondratik, which is anybody knows in Division I, Jeff Kondradik's daughter. Right. She helps out ever so often.
So you guys actually have a big team then that all kind of pitch in to make this happen.
Yeah. It definitely helps out because it gives you different perspectives on the racing itself, because you have a few people who run .90 racing, so the throttle stop, contingent, and then you also have the super stock guys, which, they're able to kind of explain, indexes and, handicaps and CICs and all that wonderful, stuff that goes along with those with that type of racing. And then, of course, we focus sometimes on the pros, and, we've had a few pro guys on. Most recently we had Brittany Force, we had Steve Torrance, and we talked to Graham Light probably about 3 weeks ago, which kind of, if anybody was on Class Racer or any of the boards, or it was that kind of brought up a topic on the .90 forum with the Christmas tree that's being used.
Oh,
and
right.
that's how that all got worked up, or it was through an interview with Graham Light. But it's a good thing for myself as a president of an organization to be able to market the association for people who are listening, and get more people on board to come and race, and more sponsors to come on board.
Sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I guess, you and I talked just briefly about the Mid-Atlantic .90 Association. I guess even before we kind of get involved in that, I mean, obviously before you got involved in the Mid-Atlantic .90 Association, you were, racing, got involved in drag racing somehow. So I guess, your family history, where does that, take us back to kind of how your family got involved in the sport?
Well, my father, Bob, started right out of high school for himself. He grew up in a little town in New Jersey called Pennsgrove, New Jersey, and just like the normal things. I'm battling a cold right now, so if you excuse me.
Hey, no worries.
Just like anything back in the early 50s and 60s, you had your version of what Street Outlaws is now, where
right.
Everybody was racing their 55 Chevys and stuff out on the local highways. So he eventually worked himself up to work. Sold his 55 Chevy, and then he had a 68 Camaro that he ran a modified production. And
okay,
he knew modified production was kind of going by the wayside.
Yeah, on its way out. Unfortunately, I think in the late 70s there, pretty much anybody that was running a modified Eliminator at that point in time knew that it was had a short life in front of it.
Yeah. So he, when I was born in '79, he actually sold the car over to a few gentlemen over in, I think, Sweden or Finland, came over and actually bought the car and took it over there.
That's cool.
So I was born in '79. Of course, he still had the itch to race. So around '82 or so, he went to a local, just a junkyard, and there was a '64 Chevy Nova station wagon sitting out there. It was just the body. It was no car or anything like that. But I remember he brought it into the garage and he said, "I want to build this into a race car." And I kind of chuckled. I was about 4 years old. I'm like, "What are you going to do with a box? Like, how are you going to race that thing?" And he worked it and basically turned it into a race car, ran it in then Supergas, because Supergas had then formed in '81 or '80 or '81, and started running Supergas in it. And then around '86, '87, my parents got divorced. When they got divorced, he was afraid that lawyers were going to come after him and stuff. So he actually tore the car apart and kind of sat on the side. He drove for another gentleman for about 2 years in Super Comp, and he had a Firebird. So long story short, he decided to rebuild the car in '92, and when he did, he was going to make it a two-door. So it was going to be the only two-door '64 Nova wagon on the planet, pretty much at the time.
Yeah.
So he built into a two-door wagon, and then he's pretty much a couple different paint schemes or so, and about 2004 or so, he came to me and says, "Hey, you want to get your license?" And pretty much started driving from there on. So
that's I would say that's pretty cool. And I don't know if Chris has seen a picture of the wagon or not yet. Well, I guess a couple of notes. Number one, I have a real affinity for wagons. Chris and I have talked about this before. I never liked wagons as a kid, but over the last 10 years, I've really grown to appreciate wagons, so much so that, I could definitely see myself at some point in time having a wagon street rod type of car. I mean, I just think
is it burgundy and black? Is the car burgundy and black?
No, the car's white with yellow and red stripes. I know there's a picture on his Facebook page kind of from the front. I'm sure there's one from the side as well. It's real low to the ground. It's a cool-looking car for sure.
I'm looking.
Yeah. So Chris is looking. So I guess that's number one. But I mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, it's certainly a real unique car, right? And it's super cool. It's neat. That's one of the things that I certainly still. It's not as much as it used to be back in the early 80s, but I still love about Supergas the fact that you do have so many different body styles out there and unique cars that are out there running in the class. And your guys' car, your family car, is just another example of that.
Yep. Yeah. And I always ask my dad. I said, why did you build a station wagon? He said, I wanted something different. I wanted something that wasn't the norm that everyone else had. And when he originally built it, it actually had a surfboard painted on top of it. When he got it painted, I think about the second time he got it painted, he did away with the surfboard and actually did luggage on top. And there's a sleeping bag, there's a couple coolers, and then what we do is every time we go to a national event or a division race, we actually put the stickers on the coolers, kind of like you would do, if you're a spectator or a fan, coming in. And we actually have the stickers on top of those of the events that we've gone to. So,
this is you said it was the white car with the red and yellow on the sides and blue flames.
Yes.
Yep.
This one.
So it looks like Chris found a picture of it. That is definitely it right there.
That's cool.
That's a cool car. There's no doubt about it. Oh yeah.
I like that. I like it a lot. It's a good looking car. So this was a 4-door that was cut down into a 2-door.
Yep. And what we did was we put if anybody have a history buff on the wagons, the 65 door is actually a longer door on those wagons than the 64 was. So when we built it or rebuilt it, we put the jam into it to fill in the door. But then we actually put a 65 door in it, which actually had a few more inches on it than the 64 to make it actually look a little longer on the door width than the 64 had.
Yep. Yeah, it's cool. I would say the picture that he's got, it looks like, is at, I would guess, Cecil County. Not 100% sure, but it looks like it's at Cecil County. But yeah, definitely a cool picture of the car for sure. You've obviously done updates to it over the years, because I can see that the hood scoop that's on it's certainly a more modern looking hood scoop probably than what you put on it back in the 2000s, I guess, when you rebuilt the car.
Yep.
Now, what motor and train? I'm sure you got a Power Glide in it, right?
Yeah, it's Power Glide. It's only a 468 big block Chevy. One thing that we do differently than a lot of people in Division 1 is we top end stop it.
Okay.
Some people, the theory, our theory from pretty much day one has been that the point of .90 racing, you're going 890, 990, or 1090, is that's what you're going. You're not going. It's not a speed contest. It's not
right.
Who goes 180 or who goes 160 or was. It's if you can dial the car. If you're on the tree, if you can go 000 or in the teens, and you can go out and go 90 with a 2 or 90 with a 3. It's a very hard package to try to get in there, and
yep.
And that's always been our theory. So. We go about 127 miles an hour, and usually we're pretty close to the 90. So it's it's a little different setup, but a lot of people hate racing us. A lot of the faster cars, they dread racing us, because there's a few videos out on YouTube. If you just look up Bob Keister, there's one from Englishtown. I think we're racing Mike Serra, who runs Top Sportsman now in his Corvette, and it's from the 2010 Division 1 race in Englishtown, and you literally see the video, and he has probably 10 to 15 car lengths on Mike going right. Probably at the 600-foot mark.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, just because overall it's something that we have talked about doing with Phil Harnden's car, just because his car is a small block. And running super gas, I mean, we're usually running 990 at 138, maybe 139 miles an hour, and that's it. And overall, it's like, man, if we top end stop this, it's like, right now we're making it a little easier on the faster cars, right? Trying to match their speed, but we're never as fast as they are. It's like we should try and make it a little bit harder on them by top end stopping this and making that speed difference between the cars so great that it's difficult for them to judge us. So you're certainly a bunch more guys doing that nowadays than there were, 5-6 years ago. So I think it's a good strategy overall.
Yeah, there's a few in Division One now who have jumped on board. I believe that Bill Nuzzo and Patrick Nuzzo, the little yellow Mustang that runs IHRA and NHRA, they top end stop it. There's a gentleman out of Canada. I'm not too sure exactly what his name is, but he has a little black Roadster. It's actually a Dodge Roadster. He does it now. And then a gentleman out in Division 5 named Tom Nicholson, I believe his name is. He's got a Lenko and runs a top-end stop. Oh. And he finished 7th in the world this year.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. That's pretty impressive, especially with a Lenko. I would say Chris had put up a picture of the car when it looked like it was still the 4-door at the time with said Mighty Mouse 3 on the side of it, I think.
Yeah, that was probably the first original. Probably when it was white and blue. Probably, I would assume.
It's red with black stripe and white stripe.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, that was probably when it was originally done.
Yeah.
Jeepers.
So that car now has been basically in the family for, 80, 90, 2000, so 35 years you've had that car in the family. So that's pretty darn cool. And you said, how long have you been driving now?
I started driving about 2000. I got my license in 2004. My first competitive NHRA race was 2005. And so about 12 years now.
When was your first competitive NHRA race?
My first competitive NHRA race? Yeah. I mean, not a local race, but an actually going away. NHRA, boy, I'm going to say that probably wasn't until the early...
out of time. The correct answer is never.
Never?
Competitive.
Competitive, yeah. I would say early 2000s for me. Yeah. Because before that, I went to Norwalk and went to a couple of IHRA races, but around here there wasn't a lot of NHRA races around. It
didn't get close enough, right? I mean, the series didn't get close enough.
Right. Yeah. So in the early 2000s, that was when I decided to start traveling, and that was when I started doing all the races in Division One. So it really wasn't until then, probably for me, that I started doing some of the NHRA races. Like I said, I'd been to Norwalk and a couple of IHRA races before then, but. Yeah, the NHRA stuff was really just not around here. It still isn't, unfortunately.
You were around it from the 70s, where I was around it from the late 70s, early 80s, and then heavy from the rebuild of the car in the 90s. Is that NHRA thing something that you guys were really begging to get your hands on? Was that a big push to get into the NHRA scene and do one of those races?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Well, it's the each or. Jason can, attest to it also is, a lot of people like the NHRA aspect of it because it's the glory of it. Yep. You get the, if you win a national event, you get your face and you get the Wally and all that stuff. To me, I like the little series races. I like the little association races. And Jason's a president of an association just like myself, and to us, we haven't done a national event since 2008. That was at the Keystones, and we go and we pretty much only do division races just for me to drive because while I'm running, when I'm running the series races. It's 3 classes: the Super Street, Super Comp, and Super Gas, all thrown into one. So it's very hard for me to even think about driving with that going on. So we kind of came to a mutual agreement about 2011 or 2012 to just let my dad run the association races, and then I would run some select NHRA Division One races. So I do probably like the ACO. ACO for me is 35 minutes down the street. So we try to do the ACO Division One race, the ACO National Open. Then we might hit like either Cecil County or Maple Grove. But if I could do about 4 races a year, that's good enough for me.
How many nights a week or through the course of the summer are you at ATCO? Is that a weekly thing? You there all the time?
I mean, I go down and watch pretty much either every Tuesday night, and sometimes I'll just go down the weekend if I'm bored, just to go down and watch. But we don't really take the car out to run it. We just pretty much just run the division races. So
right. So I mean, that's a long time to be going to your weekly track. It's no different than you with Empire,
right.
just forever. That's the home track. If you're around, you go.
Right. Yep. That's absolutely true. It's funny too. I mean, just again listening to Rob. I mean, there's 2 things. Number one, just like him, I at this point really can't remember the last time I was at an NHRA national event. It was probably 2000 as a competitor. I would say probably 2006-ish, somewhere around there. That's when I stopped traveling and said, you know what, I've had enough. I'm not doing this anymore. But the other thing, Rob, I don't know if you've ever heard anybody. I talk bad about you pretty often. And because what I tell people is Rob is absolutely crazy, insane, out of his mind. How you do 3 different classes with the Mid-Atlantic .90 Association, I have no idea. I really don't.
I sometimes wonder myself.
Yeah, it's the amount of work. I mean, I know how much work that I put into the Western New York Super Rod Association, and you're just like me. We're both working stiffs. You got full-time jobs. I don't know if you're married and have kids and all the rest of that stuff like I do. But to say that I'm going to try to not only organize the races but also put together sponsorship money to make the races worthwhile to race for the competitors. My hat's off to you. You do a fantastic job.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm I guess you would say a little bit of a control freak. I guess that's really what some people have put it into me is a control freak, and for the most part, a lot of these guys know the way everything runs now. I mean, they always yell at me about some of the emails I send out because it's long-winded emails, but I try to make my life a little easier by kind of giving them detailed things as to what's going to happen when they come into the gate, so they know what's happening. So it makes it a little bit easier for them, going forth, and to make the weekends go smooth.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where, you don't want to see the series itself, fade away, because I think a lot of people, see all the work that I do put into it, and then if I decide tomorrow that hey, I don't want to do this anymore, I'd rather go back to racing.
Right.
I think that's why I maybe take on a little more than I probably sometimes can chew off sometimes.
Yeah.
And because I guess the backstory, about how the series all got started up. The Super Gas series has been around since probably actually early 80s, but I don't think it actually became a formed series until 93, which was the Northeast Super Gas Association.
Okay.
Along with that, Dave Bishop, he owned Competition Photos.
Yep.
He had a Supercomp series going on at the same time, so they actually conjoined themselves. So it was Tony Gambardella ran the Super Gas series along with Dave Bishop, and they ran pretty much mostly ACO, I think it was. Mostly ACO, and then the Supercom series was kind of going back and forth. Also, they would actually do like craziness where they would do similar to like what Ted Barnes does a little bit, where they would run like a Friday night at like Mason-Dixon and then travel Saturday to like 75-80.
Right.
And then that's what they were doing with the Supercomp series. So probably around 2001 or so, the Supercomp series kind of changed hands a little bit with some people, and it eventually folded. Now, Super Gas series was going strong until about 2006 or so, and then Pete Luciano, Lucky Luciano, which some of you may know from his competition eliminator days, and also running Super Gas. He took over the series as president. He eventually changed it to the Mid-Atlantic Super Gas Association, which is MASCA.
Yep.
And then probably 2009 or so, Tom Boyle, a gentleman out of Westchester, Pennsylvania, he started trying to get the Supercom series formed back up and get going. Well, 2010, he got it going, had a pretty good car counts the first couple of races or so, but Tom's probably at that time, he's probably in his late 50s or early 60s, or he just didn't really want to run around and do like all the craziness and stuff. And he still wanted to kind of race and not have to, be like me, run around my head chopped off. So he came to me and asked if I would take it over, and of course I said sure. So I was just running the Super Comp at the time, and eventually Kelly came up to me and says, it'd be cool to have a Super Street Association too. And I thought about it some more, and sat down and had a few outlaw beverages, and and just kind of thinking about it some more. And I said, you know what, I think I'm going to do a Super Street series. So 2013, the Super Street series became a series. So I was running both, and then Lucky was getting ready to go comp racing, and he said, I don't want to see the Super Gas series, fall. So would you mind taking that over? I was like, yeah, sure. What the heck? I'll take it over. It was so. And then we formed it all three. I took over all three of them, and then we just formed the Mid-Atlantic.90 Association just to help market things better in the market. How everything to sponsors, rather than telling somebody well, you can do this or this or this, but you just market it all as one.
Sure. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I guess the question, just from a promoter standpoint, I'm curious as to, did you hurt your Super Gas car count when you started the Super Street series? What I've seen with like Ted Barnes with the TNT Super Series is that, we have guys that'll run both series, but in the end, I will say that there are more guys that exclusively run Super Street than run Super Gas. And then if you were to happen to run both of those series in the same day, you put some of those guys in a tough situation where they have to choose. So, did you end up hurting your Super Gas car count to run a Super Street series as well?
Not really, actually. Actually, Super Street has been a little bit of a struggle to get cars at.
Really?
I always look at Ted as like Ted
he's
is
the
like
gold standard,
my hero,
right?
I guess you would say, because I always see the car counts that he has at his events,
yep.
And I always kind of wonder like how he does it. Like you just had said, there's not very many tracks, NHRA tracks around, up in your area to get car counts. So like these guys who want to run Super Street or 1090, they don't have very many options. So
that's right.
They either run an Empire or Cayuga or
yep.
Any of those tracks around there, and that's pretty much really all they really have. And I know there's a series of Lebanon Valley also, but that's a little farther away from you guys.
Oh yeah, that's pretty far.
It's a haul. Yeah, it's not close.
Yeah, but for us, really, we have, I always say we're spoiled down here, because for me, like I said, Agco's 35 minutes, Englishtown is probably about 2 hours, Maple Grove's 2 hours, and Cecil County is an hour and 10 minutes from my house. So, there's always different options for these guys to go to.
Right.
They can go run brackets at ACO, or they can run, whatever, they can run Super Chevy at Maple Grove.
Yep.
So there's tons of options for these guys to do it. But we really didn't hurt ourselves with doing a Super Street class, because I think there was a core amount that really wanted to run the Super Street, and then there was that core that wanted to remain in Super Gas, which is, we didn't allow roadsters into Super Street, so that kind of eliminated at least a little bit of the Super Gas guys trying to flop over into Super Street.
Yep.
Because the biggest fear is if you've got a collection of drivers, you don't want to split it, and then instead of the assumption of them running both, they only run one, and now you've got a half full field in two different divisions.
Right.
Yeah, biggest Biggest fear of every race promoter that's out there that's looking at a situation running multiple series that are kind of close.
Right. Yeah, and go ahead, Rob.
And I've told them, I said, I have no problem with you guys running both if you want to. Like, if their car qualifies to run Super Street. Now, I mean, I base my rules a little bit off of Ted's rules and off of the series at Lebanon Valley. And, we don't do a weight, we don't do weights or whatever it was. And, it's a 510s Pro Tree. So it does help out, like guys who, I have a couple foot brake guys who do pretty good because, everybody knows NHRA is a 470 tree, so it makes it a little harder for them. And we actually had a foot brake guy win the last race of our season. Dave Harvey Jr. He won the last race, and pretty much the car doesn't have a throttle stop at all. And he's a very good bracket racer, but doesn't have a throttle stop. He foot brakes it or was, and he just gets to a certain point. He just spot drops. And that's that's pretty much what he does. But for the most part, by eliminating the roadsters, from running over in the Super Street, that kind of kept like the main 990 guys like Tommy Goldman and Iggy and all them guys to run just super gas. So.
Yep. Yeah, I guess I'd be curious to know, like, those guys like Tom and Iggy, long time super gas competitors. Obviously, if they had nothing else to race, sure, I know they'd race Super Street. But I don't know if those guys would run Super Street over Super Gas. If they had both options open to them, I don't know if they would do that or not. In certain situations, I mean, like myself with a slower car, I mean, for me to drop down definitely makes sense if there's going to be a no weight limit check. But yeah, I don't know if those guys would or not.
Yeah. Well, I know Tommy has actually talked about the Willies that he used to have that ran Super Gas for a really long time.
Yep.
He's actually talked about running that, getting that put back together and running that in Super Street, and possibly when he gets some time to, he's been flirting with the idea for about 2 or 3 years now to bring it out the Dutch Classic and run Super Street in it. But I don't think Tommy's just so busy with other projects that he just hasn't had a chance to actually bring it out and play with it. So
yeah, it's funny you say that because my first thought was, oh yeah, that's all that Tom needs is something else to do.
Yeah.
So at this point now, how long have you run? I mean, if you were to say the Mid-Atlantic Supergas Association, I mean, when did you specifically start running that?
I took that over in 2014, I believe, is the first year that I took it over. From Lucky, and that was Lucky's first year running comp for Charlie Greco racing, and so he just couldn't juggle both, or it wasn't, and it was understandable. But he had put such a good foundation together for the Super Gas series that it was pretty easy for me to slide in and take over. I mean, it wasn't, it definitely wasn't. I've been on both sides where you kind of walk into a series that's either struggling really bad or that it's starting to fall apart.
Yeah,
you're trying to put the pieces back together and stuff like that. But it was, he had everything running pretty smoothly, so it was pretty easy to slide right into it. And him and his daughter Leanne did very good job with the series. So it was easy for me to slide right on in there and just take over. So.
Yeah, that's cool. So who are your champs this year? I mean, I know Iggy. I think Tom was champ last year. I think I know Iggy's been champ multiple years. Who are the champs this year?
Iggy's been multiple time champion. He's actually the guy who leads all our championships. He has 6 championships, I think, total between both series. This year, George Smith with the Livewire Camaro.
Yep.
He won Super Gas. Marty Ganjoy won Super Street.
Okay.
With a small tire car. And then Iggy's daughter, Amanda Boychesko, actually won the Super Comp title this year.
Oh, no kidding.
So she actually broke some barriers pretty much with the series. She became the first female champion of the series total. And then also she became the first father-daughter duo to win championships in our series.
That's cool. And she won. Did she win a national event earlier this year?
She won the Virginia division race, the one that got rained out, and then they postponed it until August. But she won the Keystones the previous year.
Okay, all right, that's what I'm thinking of. I would say Iggy's got to be.
She's an excellent driver. Excellent. I mean, Iggy's been a great teacher to her throughout the years, and really has helped her out immensely. And she has a lot of very good mentors around her.
Yep.
And she's just an excellent driver. She's just one of those natural talents that you see some of those people that just you see some of those people that are just
they're good at it.
Yeah, they're great. Like, you can just throw them in any car and they go out and they win. It's and she's definitely one of those people. I mean, she won her first race in a big car. She had a very successful career in junior dragsters.
Yep.
And then she moved into a big car and won her first race was a Super Comp race of my series in 2013 at Numidia, and then she went on to win a Virginia division race, and then she was Rookie of the Year for Division One, the Keystones, and she's now she's Super Comp champion, so she's done very, very well for herself.
Yeah, and like I said,
21 years old.
She's got she's definitely has good mentors around her for sure. So I mean, that's you take someone who's talented and now give them good teachers too, and you better watch out. The person's going to be successful. How far is Numidia from you guys?
Numidia for me is 4.5 hours.
Okay.
I love Numidia. I really do. I love the track. I love the family who runs it, the Mino family.
Yep.
Jason, me and you have talked plenty of times to try to put something together that we could have like a North versus South shootout.
Right.
Our guys versus your guys and stuff. But it probably just like with you guys, it's hard to get our guys to travel up there.
Right.
I don't know why. I really think, if you look at the roads going into media 30 years ago, we probably would have been okay. But now that everybody has these gigantic motorhomes and stackers, and, it makes it a little tough to try to, get over some of them hills and the little narrow roads that they got there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was to say, I don't know if maybe I need to throw the gauntlet down. I don't know if we have any competitors that are going to be Mid Atlantic Supergas Association competitors to be watching tonight. Maybe I need to call them all out and tell them all how much they suck and how we could kill all of them out of the track. Maybe that would get them to get fired up and say, we want to go show them who's the best Supergas racers. But you're right. It is one of the races that I would really, really like to do. I think it would be really fun. I look at it sort of like the All-Stars, the NHRA All-Stars, right, where you have that team camaraderie. And, you guys are out. I know that all your competitors all get along. It's the same with us. We all get along. We all have fun. Yes, we're all trying to win any particular weekend at one of our races, but you're all trying to, beat each other up on a weekend. And it would be fun to go down as a team and, basically, like I said, have kind of that team camaraderie, if you will. And I'd still like to see if we could make that happen at some point in time. And maybe it's not 2018, but I would love to do that.
Yeah, I would too. I think that would be an awesome thing to do, is to have because we all, all in our minds we all think our series are the best out of them all. One guy says, well, I got the best super gas racers, or, I got the best super street racers and stuff. And, we all, in our own minds, hope we have the best, the best racers out of them all. And it'd be awesome to just have, especially where we're at. We're in the Northeast, we are definitely one of the very few, I guess you would say, racing organizations that could say that they have multiple ones. If you go down south, there's a super gas series, I think, that runs in like Georgia.
Right.
And out west, you got the SoCal Pro Gas guys.
Yep.
They pretty much run at one track. But there's really nothing else that's out there. So here, you got you guys with the Western New York Super Gas Association. You got the Super Street Association that runs at Lebanon.
Yep.
New England Dragway has, I believe, like their own little weekly series things or some. Like they have a couple like little races there. I don't think it's really run by anybody, but we have Maine, and we have Ted with with the Super Street Series. It'd be awesome just to have everybody all say, we're going to meet right here, and this is going to be like a race of champions. You know, who's the best out of those all? You know?
But you've got to find some sort of neutral ground, and that's the challenge. I mean, even looking at the series that you've mentioned, generally, if you look at those series, they don't travel. You know, I don't. Jason, in our conversations that we've had multiple times, we've talked about how you can have these pockets of support, but they don't. They're not mobile, so to say. They don't travel. You don't see a lot of those guys moving in and out of these, even though there's so much similarity what we've just talked about with these different series. You don't see people moving in and out of those circles.
With moving in and out of the circles, as in, you know, moving in and out of the series themselves.
Well, I mean, you don't see guys from around here going up and running on an off weekend with down.
Oh, down like Lebanon Valley.
Yeah,
or down.
You just don't see it happening.
Yeah. And you know, I know that. I know, you know, John Pelican. I know he went down. So let's see. Did you have a race at New Media last year, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and John came down with his new car and won.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's same thing like you guys, where New Media's, you know, 4.5 hours away. New Media is probably 4 hours away for us as well, out of Rochester. So it makes it pretty equidistant. But yeah, I mean, Chris is absolutely right that you don't really see a lot of the guys say, hey, you know what? Yeah, this weekend I'm going to go race with the, you know, Mid-Ohio Super Gas Association or whatever it is. I mean, the guys are, once they hook up with a series, they're generally loyal to that particular series.
And most of these series that were just described generally don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, generally most of them don't they have a home track where they spend most of their time? I
would say the Mid-Atlantic .90 series might be the exception to that. I mean, do you guys have a home track that you run the majority of your races at?
For the most part, I mean, we run 2 weekends or 4 races at ACO and Cecil County, and then usually our fifth weekend is usually filled in at Maple Grove or New Media, depending on how the schedules work out.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean, we had, you know...
That's similar to an Empire.
We had a pretty good car count at Super Gas up in New Media this past year, but SuperCom at Super Street was pretty bare, so that's why I decided not to really go back there. And then, you know, I had a few racers come up to me saying, this is, you know, it's a little bit of a tough toe for us, and so I kind of just, you know, ixnayed that, and I was just like, you know... It was nice, you know. It's one of those things like you kind of want to go up there like every 4 years or every 5 years and go up there, just, you know, just to let whatever it was. You know?
Yeah, the tough thing for us is that, again, around here, you know, we're pretty pro IHRA just because all the tracks around here are basically IHRA. So your race happened to be the same weekend as the big race down at Pittsburgh. And basically all my guys were all like, yeah, we're all going to Pittsburgh, because not only because of the money, it was really equidistant for us to go to Pittsburgh or go to New Media, but really more so than that, it was because of the points. And, you know, it was really unfortunate, because I had really hoped, when I saw that you guys were going to New Media again, I was like, excellent, we're going to get all the guys down there. And it was like, oh no, we're all going to Pittsburgh. It's like, so yeah, it was a bummer from my standpoint, but, so I guess, what do you guys have on tap for 2018 now? I mean, you're way ahead of the curve, in my opinion. I mean, you already have your schedule complete for 2018, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, especially like you had said. I mean, with having 3 different series going on, I mean, I try to hit the ground running, and you know, the good thing is I have a really good rapport with at least, you know, probably 3 of the tracks or so. I mean, ACO, I'm very close with the general manager and the owner's daughter and stuff, so they're always bouncing stuff back and forth off of me. So, you know, it was like probably, I think the Dutch Classic wasn't even wrapped up yet, and I was already getting text messages from like, hey, what dates do you think you got for next year? You know, already, and you know, I go pretty well with Jimmy Halsley down in Cecil County. You know, I could bounce anything off to him. And then Maple Grove, you know, we added this year, but we kick off April 28th and 29th at ACO. That is the weekend before the PC Richards National Open, also at ACO. So what I did a lot with the schedule this year was I tried to make it convenient for the racers, because we all know that the towing cost and gas and just wear and tear on stuff is just getting astronomical, you know, for the racer. So so this race is the weekend before the National Open at ACO, so you can leave your stuff at the track and then come back the following weekend for
That's nice.
For the PC Richards race. And then we go to Maple Grove the 19th and 20th of May, and that's also the weekend before the Lucas Oil Series rolls into Maple Grove.
Yep.
So you can also leave your stuff at the track.
Yep.
Then we take pretty much about 2 months off. Basically, just a lot of races going on. There's a lot of NHRA races. There's Englishtown. There's Norwalk. There's a lot of these big bracket races that are popping up all over the place. So I just didn't want to really interfere too much with them. So we go back to ACO on July 28th and 29th, which is the weekend before the Lucas race at ACO. So you can also leave your stuff at the track there. So the first 3 races of the year, you can race the weekend before big NHRA races at the same track.
Yep.
And then August 11th to 12th, we're at Cecil County. Now that's the weekend before their Lucas race, but unfortunately they had to do a lot of maintenance with the grass and stuff there. So I'm working on something right now to be able to let guys that are coming from a pretty far distance to leave their stuff, not at the track, but like probably somewhere like in New Jersey and stuff, so they don't have to travel all the way back if they have to. So
yep.
And then we close out the season back at Cecil County on the 22nd and 23rd of September.
September 22nd and 23rd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So late. Yeah, late. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, that's just the way it goes, geographically. I mean, overall, you guys can start earlier than we can, and you can end later than we can. I mean, not to say that we obviously race into late September and early October, but once you start getting into late September, you're really rolling the dice around here. And, honestly, most tracks around here, we might have a test and tune basically before May 1st, but other than that, that's about it. The only track
last year it took 3 or 4 tries to get the first test and tune.
Right, yeah. So for us around here, I won't schedule anything before really the middle of May at the very earliest. One of
the struggles that we face too in September is everybody's back to school, summer's over, and Friday and Saturdays are dedicated to high school football.
No, yeah.
And you're trying to get families away from that.
Right.
And that's, you're not pulling that tooth.
Right.
They're just not giving it up.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, the way we look at it, usually anything after like the Dutch Classic, we try not to schedule anything after that.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of people, if anybody's been to the Dutch lately or the Dot 90 cars aren't really well represented there. You might get 25 to 30 Super Gas, Super Comp, Super Street cars. There's not many that are actually represented there much anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That race has kind of turned into a stock, super stock race because everybody wants to set records before.
I was going to say, that's the record-setting race, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, I try not to schedule anything after the Dutch. Usually that's where my line usually is drawn. And they moved the Dutch up actually a week this year to I think 28th, 29th, and 30th of September.
Okay.
So I had actually thought about October like 6th and 7th. Ooh. Then I was like, Jason will, say, sometimes it gets a little iffy with throttle stop cars.
Right.
It's getting cold out. And, last thing I want to do is try to put anybody on the roof or into a wall, or it was because of, cold weather and stuff. So, that will still be a warm enough weekend for us, that September weekend. Now, the April 28th and 29th, it's usually right around here. It's starting to break. It could be one of those things where it's still 50 degrees out here, or it could be 80. It's one of those, you got to flip a coin to see what kind of weather you're going to get. So. Yeah.
One of the things I liked about the schedule was that, yes, it's 10 events, but it's 5 weekends.
Right.
You're only dedicating 5 weekends. If you want to follow the whole series, you're dedicating 5 weekends, and it's paired really nice with that opportunity to leave your stuff there.
That's right.
So it certainly lightens up the tow load. But that the 2-day show, now in the event you get weather one day, do you run a double program the second because everybody's already there? You just lose that from the schedule? Do you have drops built in? How does the point system work?
We do 6 out of 10 races, so you basically have 4 mulligans, I guess you would say, in case we get rain or something happens or whatever it is. Like New Media, we had that issue happen. Anybody's ever heard the stories of New Media, you can sit there and look on your phone and it'll have 0% chance of rain. And you'll sit there like, well, there's no chance of rain today. We're good. We can get this whole race in. But where New Media sits in the mountains, in the gully where it's at, rain pops up like in a heartbeat.
Yep.
And that's happened to us on a Saturday. We started a little late because they don't start their program. They usually run. They're kind of like a track that runs all their junior dragsters before any of the big cars go down. So they rush through all their junior dragsters till almost there's only like maybe 4 or 5 cars left in each category, and then they say, okay, let's get big cars up there. So we didn't start till almost like 12 o'clock, I think, on that Saturday. So then we ran our both time shots, had our ladders all taken care of. They were running their Super Pro program, and it started to rain. And it was just a brief little shower, whatever it was. So, they get through theirs, and then we get in the first round as I'm, like, Supercom's up. We had just run Super Street. Supercom's up there it was. There's probably 4 or 5 cars in the Supercom. I look over the mountains, and you can't see the mountains anymore.
Oh, no.
So you knew it was going to get ugly. And I turned to the starter, and I'm like, I really don't think we should run any more pairs here. And he looked at the mountain. He goes, I'm pretty sure of myself. And I said, let's go, turn it back. And we got pounded with pounded with rain. But New Media, how it sits, rain fell off. They cleaned off the track. We got our first round in, but then it started getting really dewy. And I was like, we're just going to try to run everything on Sunday, and that's what we ended up doing. So it was just, but we count 4, pretty much, 4 mulligans. Some people have had that mentality of, I'm just going to go to 6 races, and, I'll have the 4, I just won't go to the 4 races that are not counted or it was, but we have some very tough competitors in our series that, it's very hard for you to go out there with just 6 races and claim all 6 races towards your championship. Usually you got a few of them that you're throwing out.
You almost have to.
Yeah, listening to Robin, man, honestly, I'm wondering if we shouldn't have more mulligans. Typically, because we've run 8 races. Last year was a bit of an exception, but the previous years we've run 8 races in the points where you got to drop 1. So I'm wondering if I shouldn't be allowing guys to drop a second. Everybody has family stuff that they're committed to and stuff like that. You can't make it, but now I'm questioning whether or not I shouldn't allow another drop.
We'll have to talk about it at a team meeting later.
Yeah, maybe.
That's why I do it. I do it just because, because of that factor. We all know we all want to race every weekend that we can. But there's those family functions that pop up. Sometimes it's very hard to explain to a wife or a girlfriend or whatever it was that I can't make our son's graduation because I'm going racing.
Right.
Usually you're gonna come home from the racetrack and your son's gonna be sitting on the front lawn, unfortunately. So. You allow the 4 mulligans, the 4 drops, and you hope that the 6 races that you're counting towards your championship are races that are definitely going to help you in the long run. Like Amanda this year. She won 2 races and she went the 4 finals total, won 2 races and runner up at 2. And it still took till the Sunday of the final race of the season, and the gentleman behind her, Bill Hardiford, had to basically win the race to pass her in points, and he red lighted in the 3rd round, so that clinched it for her.
Yeah, wow.
But it's still that was the one good thing was all 3 of our champions were crowned on Sunday of the final race, and it was like it literally was like. Almost kind of like the countdown, like the Steve Torrance and Ricky Force thing, or Bill Butner and Greg Anderson. It was, our Super Gas thing. George Smith went into the semifinals, and he had to run Mike Hondras, who's kind of new at Super Gas, but he was pretty much he went into that semifinals tied with Derek Clark for first place, and if George won, he won the championship. If George lost, Derek won based off of wins.
Wow. No pressure.
Yeah, and I have to say that, that's the amazing thing about this style of racing, and I can't speak for Ted's series, but, with our series, it was very similar in that Harry Phelps, who is our champion now in 2016 and 17, he was in the finals of every race in 2017 and finally won the last race of the season, but didn't clinch the championship until the very last race, and I think it was after he won second round. If he had lost second round, then it was a potential that, he could potentially lose the championship, even though he was in the final at every single race. And from there, you looked at, I forget what it was. It was like third through fifth were separated by less than a round of racing. So on that last Sunday, it's like I couldn't tell anybody. It's like there's nothing that's locked up at this point in time. It's wide open. But it makes it exciting for sure. And I have to say that, the double race format is definitely the way to go. I mean, I had some of my drivers come to me a few years ago and asked, hey, you know what? I think we did one double race, and they came to me and said, look, we would like to do essentially all double weekends. That's the way to do it. And so that's what we've been trying to do. And unfortunately, you get rainouts or whatever, then you got makeups, and it might be a single race. But yeah, we want to do all double races. I mean, like I said, from a travel standpoint, it makes it less costly. And aside from that, I mean, guys now can dedicate, hey, look, honey, you know what? I'm only dedicating 4 weekends out of the summer or 5 weekends out of the summer to go racing with the Western New York Supergas Association because everything else is, kind of up in the air and flexible. So that's definitely the way to do it. The only issue that I've had is that Empire doesn't race every weekend, every Sunday, and we've been looking at going to some other tracks too, and it seems like it's not the norm to have a Saturday Sunday race. And if tracks do have a Saturday Sunday race, generally it's some type of big event that they have going on. So I found it challenging for 2018 to try and set that up for just Saturday and Sunday. But
yeah. I mean, we've always done double events. I mean, really, that's why we'd like the 4 mulligans. I mean, if we get rain or if one gets rained out, it's pretty much wiped off. I mean, it's a very rare occurrence that we will do something where we'll add another race onto onto the season. Yeah. It's pretty much like if it comes down to like where the first 4 events are rainouts.
Right.
And it's like, well, we only got 6 races left, and we already lost 4 events. Like maybe I may look into like, hey, can you fit us in this weekend? Yeah, right. Sure, yeah, and car counts may hurt a little bit because now people don't have that playing down on their schedule.
Yeah.
But it's kind of what you have to do. But I try not to add any more. Once that schedule's set, this is pretty much what it is. And if we lose a race, we lose a race. If you decide that maybe your daughter's graduating or you're getting married or something like that, then that gets counted towards one of your mulligans. So,
yeah.
Or if there's an NHL race that you want to go to, that's maybe like our first race to schedule on top of the Charlotte National event. So I know a few of my guys will go down there because they like going to Charlotte.
Yeah.
But it's no matter what you try to do, and Jason, you can attest to this. It's very hard to make everybody happy with the schedule and make everybody like, this is the best schedule ever. I mean, you're going to get the guys who are like, well, I was planning on going to Charlotte, or I was planning on going, to Norwalk or whatever it may possibly be. And I know some people are upset this year because Bristol National Event and Englishtown Division I race are on top of each other.
Right.
I mean, that's a big race that a lot of Division I guys go down to Bristol. And, now that's on top of the Englishtown Division I race. So I know a lot of guys aren't too thrilled about that, but, it's what Dave and his crew at Division I have to do. I mean, to get, accessible dates.
Yeah. I will say that I try, but, there's certainly been a couple of times where I've had guys that weren't thrilled with the decisions I've made. And it's like, well, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, like I said, I'm trying to make everybody happy the best of my ability. Unfortunately, you can't You can't put it up to a vote. You can't make it a democratic process. Somebody has to be in charge at some point in time and make those tough decisions. And I hate to have to do them, honestly. But I guess that's why the Western New York Super Yacht Association pays me, tens of thousands of dollars per year to run the series, to make those tough decisions. So
yeah, same here. People tell me that all the time. They say to me, all that money you make off the series, or was it said, you want to know when I make tons of money off the series? When I come rolling into the track with a brand new stacker, brand new motorhome, and a top sportsman car, and then you know that I'm making money off the association.
Right.
But if you see my operation right now, you know I'm not making a damn dime off this
thing. Right.
So.
Yeah, I think 2017 for me was actually the first year that it didn't cost me money to run the West New York Super Yacht Association. Every year prior to that, it cost me about $1,000 out of my own pocket to run it. And I know I've had guys say, "Look, you shouldn't do that," all the rest of it, and it's not like it's not like the series comes up to me and hits me over the head and takes $1,000 out of my pocket. It's one of those things where it nickels and dimes me over the course of the year, and you go back and you add the cost up, and it's like, yeah, okay, I'd rather have the $1,000 in my pocket, but at the same point in time, I did extra things that I felt like were good things to do. Making sure everybody had plaques, and at the banquet, giving flowers to the wives and stuff like that. And it's like, that wasn't stuff that I budgeted for at the beginning of the season, but I felt like was a good thing to do. So that's the way it goes. And obviously, we can't do it without sponsorship, and we have some great sponsors for our series. Mid Atlantic Supergas or Mid Atlantic .90 Association. Do you guys have some longtime sponsors that help you guys out?
We have two title race sponsors that really help us out immensely, and one is a group that has been on for about 4 years now, and that's it's Roadrunner Race Fuels. They're based out of Monson, Pennsylvania. It's Jeff Stricker, Kim Stricker, Kara Stein, and Dave Stein, and they're associated with VP Racing Fuels. So they are our main sponsor for that. They've been on for about 4 years now, and then this year we added on Direct Cabinet Sales, which they are a big sponsor in Division 1 with the Junior Dragster Series and a few other series. A gentleman by the name of Rich Prizer, he runs Stock Super Stock, and he did dabble a little bit in Super Street, and unfortunately he crashed his car at the .90 Nationals this past season, and so he won't be doing any Super Street racing, but he deals with these gentlemen out of Direct Cabinet Sales, and we got talking one night, and he asked what we could do to better the series, and he came on board for this year. So we have two big guys as title race sponsors of them, VP, and then also Direct Cabinet Sales, which will guarantee $1,000 to the winners of all the classes this year, for basically $110 to get in the gate. So it's like 80. They pay 80 to me, and they pay 30 at the gate. So $110 each day to guarantee 1,000 as long as you're a member. So still not a bad deal. And then we have a couple other sponsors. We do contingency through Comp Cams Incorporated, and they're little guys, TCI and RHS and Fast, Autometer Incorporated, Joe Mark Commercial Restaurant Equipment, Mazier Starters. I'm trying to think who else. JKR, Jeff Kondratic Racing. They do all contingencies for us, and we're still working on some more contingencies right now, hopefully for 2018.
You just got signed up with that Contingency Connection group, right? That's new for this year?
Yeah. Contingency Connection is on board for us this year. That was something, I'd like to try to go to PRI every year. Unfortunately, the past 2 years I haven't been able to, just because of starting a new job, so really haven't been able to get off in December's. So I was trying to look at an outlet to be able to try to get some of the sponsors I talk to on a regular basis on board, and just happened to come across this Contingency Connection, and called the Jackie up, which is the girl who runs it, and we talked for about an hour and a half or so, and got on board. So it's definitely a big increase for our contingency for 2018. 18 and on. So
it's good. Sounds like that's a lot of ways the drivers can put some extra money in their pockets in addition to just finishing first.
Right.
That's a big push. As long as you can, the less amount of money coming out of your pocket in order to race is always a big thing. And doing it with the schedule that you've got, it's a good one. You can find more information about the Mid-Atlantic.90 Association online at midatlantic90.com. The schedule release is already out there. You can find some awesome pictures from last year's events. All the point standings are up there. And you guys are pretty active on Facebook as well. That is Mid-Atlantic.90 Association as well. Look it up that way, but remember to put the period in it. The website does not have the period before the 90. The Facebook account does, in fact, have that 90 in position as well. So there's plenty of spaces that you can check out all the action, all the artwork. There's a bunch of pictures of trophies. There's photos from last year. And if you go to Rob's page directly, you can find more of those pictures of the 64 wagon, which you can't go wrong. You got to make sure you check that out.
Yeah, very, very cool for sure.
So
we're also on Instagram, and we just joined the world of Twitter also. So
I don't completely get Instagram nor Pinterest and Twitter. Twitter just seems like some place where you go to. You can certainly reach a lot of people in a hurry.
Yeah. Well, the Twitter thing was just the series and just pretty much simple and quick. I really was against doing it, but then some of my members were like, "Well, that's all I do is I do Twitter. I don't do Facebook anymore." So I'm like, "All right, well, I guess I'll dive in." So I'm like, so I don't get involved. I don't get involved. I'll post something real quick about the series, and then I'm off of there. Like I don't get involved with all the politics and stuff that goes on there. So
I can see some advantage with Twitter in terms of the rainouts, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can pass along a lot of information quick with using Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You should be able to cover everybody at that point and let them know exactly what's happening in real time.
That's right.
Saves some people some travel effort.
Oh, don't forget Snapchat and.
You got a Snapchat? A lot of drag cars on there.
I say, I'm sure we can get some filters so you can, do like helmets and cats on top of your head and stuff like that. With I would say you can't see Chris because the camera's on me right now, but Chris is over there shaking his head like, "What are you doing?
Get out of there! just get out of there! You don't want to do that. You were trying to have a serious conversation with the guy, and you're putting cats on helmets."
That's right.
So what did we miss through the course of this? I mean, we hit on a lot of topics, bounced around from a lot of different things. It sounds like you guys are in a definite flow right now. Things momentum is building. You got the schedule out already. Good support front to back. What did we miss hitting on?
Our annual banquet on March 10th. Pretty much in Trevis, PA, and we'll honor all our champions. And then we'll get ready to kick things off, at ACO on April 20th and 29th, and that's pretty much it. But
go from the banquet to the
like Jason said, and Jason said, I'm also I do a podcast on Wednesday nights called Wheels Up Radio with Chris Barnes, Mike Carr, and Bob Bender, all them guys. It starts at 7:00 on Wednesday nights, and then one of my members, Kelly Barbato, has her own show on Monday nights called the Weekend and Wrap Up Show, which starts at like 7:30 on Mondays. So, you can fill in your whole entire week of podcasts between Monday's Wheels Up Wrap Up, Wheels Up Radio on Wednesday night, and then this podcast on Thursday night. So
right.
You can have your whole week filled up.
Now, is Wheels Up? I know that I did a Google search for Wheels Up. Wheels Up have a Facebook page as well.
Yes, I think it's Wheels Up Radio /Blog Talk Radio, I believe it is.
Okay.
.com.
Well, I'm sure if somebody does a search on Facebook, they'll be able to find it.
Yeah.
And that's Wheels, WEELZ Up Radio.
Yep.
And Wheels Up is on iTunes. It's on Pod Fanatic. It's all over the place. You can track it down pretty easy. It's very, very accessible.
I'm kind of new to the whole podcast thing, Rob. So I mean, Chris over here is he's the expert at it. So obviously, somebody who's into podcasts sounds like they'll have a pretty easy time finding up Wheels Up Radio.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Well, good. Well, Rob,
I'm not sure which. I have to look deeper into that. I found a Facebook page. I'm not 100% sure if it's the drag racing show or if they've got something else. Maybe it's judging by the pictures, it may have been a podcast for airline pilots, but hey, let's not judge.
Well, that kind of could make sense, right? Well, all right. Well, just look for WELZ Up Radio and look for some drag racing cars, and you'll find it.
Easy to track down. And that, you said that's a whole group of people. You got an army of foot soldiers putting that show together, and it's sort of a conglomerate with the multiple shows during the week and multiple people hosting and helping out on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's a great group of guys. Or was all of them have except for Chris, the host, or was everybody has driven some kind of a race car in their career, and they all. It's very good to be able to put different perspectives on racing and how their weekends went at the tracks, and and some great interviews that we have with some great guests. So I mean, it's like I said, it's a great podcast to check out, and like I said, between you guys and Wheels Up Radio and anything else that's out there, was you fill up your whole entire day at work or was listening to podcasts.
But we appreciate what you're doing and the efforts that go into putting together a podcast. It's not an easy operation as much as it probably can seem like it. Anybody can get a hold of a microphone, but getting the guests together and doing the background so that you got some people to talk to, it's not as easy as Jason thought that it was going to be. That's for sure. But well, Rob, man, for sure, keep in touch as the season goes. I hope your banquet goes well and you get good weather jumping into things as early as it is in April. April 28th, 29th will be the start for the Mid-Atlantic .90 series. Wish you the best. We appreciate you coming on. For more information, again, jump online, midatlantic90.com, or on Facebook, Mid-Atlantic.90 Association. You can find all that information on there. Rob, again, man, appreciate you coming on the show, and we look forward to catching up with you once the season gets rolling.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
we'll see
Rob.
you later on.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
And there goes Rob Keister.
Good guy.
With Mid-Atlantic, yeah, super guy. And he got to experience our train. in the early stages of the show.
He did, though. The train was early this week.
It was early, wasn't it?
Kind of kicked the show off.
Yeah, it started to let everybody know in town that we were coming at him full bore. But I know a lot of folks that were tuning into Finger Lakes One TV tonight were catching up with the action over on the basketball coverage. Those guys were over at the community college, the chiropractic college. Chiropractic college tournament was tonight. They were over there doing that tournament down that way. So appreciate those guys putting in the effort on there, still giving us the opportunity to jump on the air here tonight. We will be back again on the 11th of January, and then from there we're going to be at the banquet for Empire Dragway down in Mount Morris at the end of the month. That'll be on the 20th yep. of January, so we'll look forward to that. And again, we're trying to go into a little bit better plan this year so that we can get some of the late trophy winners early, get some of the early trophy winners later, and get in and out pretty succinctly. So appreciate the opportunity to go back to that banquet with Empire again this year. That is going to do it for us here at the North Park building at Academy Square. We appreciate all the folks that are tuning in to watch us here, and that is going to do it for us here on the final round, episode number 29 in the books. We'll see everybody again in 2 weeks. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.